so vivid.
Season's greetings, everyone! My name is Surina, you are watching Now It's So Vivid, and happy winter solstice, happy ascent, happy return of the sun. This is one of my favorite times of year. I like to relish the older I get in the holiday season and in celebrating other people and, you know, eating food and opening gifts, and it's definitely a time to celebrate. Especially since the symbolic activities sort of revolve around trying to make it through some of the darkest nights of our calendar year. And I feel like oftentimes I am always deeply unaware or oblivious to my seasonal depressive episodes. So this year I definitely went all out. I felt really good this year. It's been a bang-up year for me, you guys. I'm so happy to talk about my favorites of 2017. But before I do that, I want to wish a hearty welcome to all of my new subscribers. I am so glad that you guys have arrived in time for the holidays, because this video is going to be chock full of goodies. 2017 has treated me especially well. I had a boatload of really amazing transformative experiences. I really feel like I've grown as a person, and along the way I got to pick up some amazingly cool stuff. And I want to talk about some non-witchy things too. So we're going to talk books, music, places, moments, all of that kind of stuff. You can tell how giddy I am. I am looking forward to this adventure. Welcome everyone to Surina's Favorites for 2017. So let's start with some experiences that I had this year. Well, first of all, and probably most importantly of all, I got married in early June this year. It was a stunningly beautiful day with perfect weather. I never felt calmer, and it feels strange because every day leading up to that day, I was an anxious little ball of energy, and I couldn't stop moving, and I couldn't sleep properly. And then the day of my wedding, I just blissed. I can't really describe it, but I just coasted through the entire day knowing that everything was going to turn out fine, and it did. It was one of the most amazing and easily the most joyous experience of my life. So many friends and family were there. We got married on the full moon, which is very special to me. I wanted it to be on a moon, a major moon, so a full moon or a new moon. And it was just an emotional day, but in all of the best and most relished ways. And I got to rock a sweet dress. Oh my god. So this dress was actually in 3 pieces. It was a top, a corset, and a long tulle skirt, but I was also wearing another skirt underneath it so I could take it off during the reception. And man, I just felt like a fairy queen. I absolutely adored my wedding day, and I got to ceremoniously unite with my partner in front of all of our friends and family and the gods. And we were hand-fasted, and we had a pig roast, and our wedding was in a very local location, so it wasn't hard to travel to, and it was very easy and laid back, and that is exactly how I wanted our wedding to be. So wedding, number 1 on my list. Also, some other experiences that I had this year include changing my name, which was a long time coming, subsequently getting my very first tattoo, which was also a long time coming. I got to go to the UK for my honeymoon. I'm an unabashed Anglophile, so I had a brilliant time while I was there. I also got to do just some really cool shit. Like, I got to go to a gem show that was nearby. That was really fun and definitely made me feel good because I'm a crystal collector, and it was kind of like being in a gigantic warehouse-sized candy store. So many sparkly things. And also, just recently, I got to meet Eric C. Dunn, the creator of the Tarot's Illuminati and Apocalypsis. He lives in Pennsylvania, and this was not something I knew ahead of time. So I went to this event not knowing what to expect, and it was in a very small local metaphysical store that he just sat at a table, devoted, you know, an average of 10 minutes to every person that just wanted to like come up and ask him questions while he signed their books or whatever. And towards the end of it, it became a very casual conversation about tarot, just like 6 or 7 people riffing and like chatting and laughing, and he had a great sense of humor. He was a very approachable person. He posed with me for a picture, which I really appreciated. I felt very millennial asking that question. but he was very obliging, and he gave us a preview of a card from an upcoming deck he's doing, so oh, so many goodies, so much fun. I want to talk now about some of the places that I've been that have been my favorites of 2017. Well, for my birthday, I got to go to the Grounds for Sculpture, and that is one of my favorite places of all time. It is a not often talked about sculpture park in Hamilton Township, New Jersey. And it's such a blissful atmosphere, and you can walk amongst art. And one of the things that I like about Grounds for Sculpture is they really devote a lot of their presentation to the scope and the size of what sculpture can truly be. So you have a lot of oversized sculptures. I recommend that if you are ever in, New Jersey, if that's somewhere you vacation to, that you check out the Grounds for Sculpture, because it is one of the weirdest, most unexpected gems of this part of the United States, and I think that it is definitely worth a visit. But of course, my places category would not be complete without talking about the places I got to experience on my honeymoon to the United Kingdom. I would say that my favorite of all of the places there that we visited was Boscastle, which is also where the Witchcraft Museum is located. I think I will remember the most is driving into the Pay and Park parking lot area in Boscastle, rolling the windows down, realizing that it was a little warmer than it had been earlier, smelling the sea breeze and the moss and the wet, and just feeling absolutely refreshed, and then walking through this adorable seaside town that had a river running right through it. That place is so magical, and this landscape is stunning, like all of these jagged slate cliffs covered in moss, and it just looks picturesque. It really has a beautiful liminal energy to it that cannot be repeated anywhere else. Cornwall was surprisingly friendly to pagans, and I had a lot of really good memories of just hanging around there, sort of taking in a lot of the local folklore. We went to Tintagel as well. Also, one of the places that I particularly liked was going to Glastonbury, which is in Somerset. We actually happened to go there for the autumnal equinox, which is not something that we had pre-planned. So you would walk around and people would be saying blessed be, and you could, walk around with your pentacle. I saw a woman who had a moon tattooed to her forehead. I was like, that is hardcore. These are real pagans. Hats off to Glastonbury. I don't envy anyone that lives there that has to deal with the music festival that goes on there, because I'm sure it just turns into a madhouse. But the town itself was really a beautiful place. I would definitely recommend going to Glastonbury Tor and also Glastonbury Abbey, which is just a brilliant collection of ruins. Lots of Arthurian legend sort of surrounded by the stuff, the landmarks in Glastonbury. Also, another favorite place on my UK trip was going to Edinburgh. That is a charming city. It's not a very big city, but my God, they have so much to do there, and I feel like even though we were there for 3 days, we just barely scratched the surface of Edinburgh. I also felt that the locals were really friendly. A lot of them are, or were at the time that we went, immigrants. I'm sure that they see a lot of tourism come in and out of that town. I kind of lost count of the amount of languages and accents that I heard while I was in Edinburgh. It did not sound as Scottish as I thought it would. there was a lot of tourism there, and it's a really beautiful place. The architecture is like wicked cool if you're into like spooky gothic things, and I am, but also there's just so much character and so much pride of the country there. And one of my favorite places there was going to the Scottish National Portrait Gallery. I'm a portrait painter, you guys, so I just had a fucking ball in this joint, and it just had everything from modern to classical portraiture all done by Scottish artists, and it was this beautiful celebration of Scotland and through the eyes of art, which I really appreciated. Well, I want to mention Brighton because another place that I really feel I did not get to see very well because there's so much stuffed into this town, and I was only there for an afternoon, so there are rows and rows and rows of shops and cafes and bars, and I don't know that anybody could truly experience Brighton. And if anyone has, I would be willing to bet that it took them like way more than a month because there's so much to do there. And it's a very charming beach town. So hats off to Brighton. I liked that place a lot too. But also my favorite place in London that we visited was the British Museum. And that really reawakened just a sense of spiritual wonder at the magnitude of time and antiquity, and understanding what culture looked like through the eyes of the ancients, or trying to, you know what I mean? Like it's an incredible privilege to get to go to visit one of those places and really sort of surround yourself with all of that wisdom. And it feels rich. It talks to you while you move through it, and it's truly an experience that I hope to never take for granted. And you know, I may just feel, you know, personally connected to it, but try not to be too sappy about it, but I really do. I absolutely loved the British Museum. It's free. All you have to do is go through security, and just, you know, days of walking around this magnificent building and at all of the treasures that they stole. Okay, so let's get to YouTube channels. My particular favorite YouTube channels this year have been, well, Joey Morris always, but she introduced me to Cris Ashburn, and the live streams that they have done this year have been mind-blowing, and a lot of the discussion that they've been going on about have been really relevant to the things that have been happening in my life. So there's an element of synchronicity, and I've just been feeling really positive about it. I love when I can get to these discussions live, because the chat is always bumping and we always have all of these ideas flying around, and there's an openness and a communication element that I really like. But the discussions themselves are worth visiting afterwards anyway, and I certainly have after the fact. So yeah, I just had a ball, especially over the summer, listening to these brilliant talks by these two women, and they incorporate other people into their talks as well. They interviewed Joanna DeVoe not that long ago about the queen archetype, and that was a fantastic discussion. They've also featured Molly Roberts a couple of times, but no matter what, they always have fun, and they always engage in some really deep spiritual discussions that I find truly riveting. So thank you guys. You guys have really put a lot of work in, and I just want you to know that I'm appreciative for it. Also, since my resurgence of tarot love has sort of crept back into my world, I have been devoting a lot of time to tarot channels. So currently getting back into Sacred Seed. I know that she hasn't, Elle, the creator of Sacred Seed, she has not uploaded anything in quite a while, but regardless of that, she has a lot of material going back, and a lot of it that I truly like is the walkthroughs of the decks that she does, because she is a great collector of tarot. She has quite a lot of decks. She's very generous with her time, you guys, putting out these long series of videos of her just walking through every single card and talking about tarot and about, you know, everything about the deck that she's, you know, focusing on in that video. So I recommend her just as a resource. She has helped me make some informed decisions when it comes to adding decks to my tarot collection. I don't like buying all of the decks, you know what I mean? That's not really my goal. I want to buy decks that I connect to. That is something that I really appreciate from her. Similarly, I also like the YouTuber Katey Flowers. She's an Australian witch, and she has quite a few decks of her own, and she as well will provide long videos where she talks about decks, does walkthroughs, reviews decks. And Katey Flowers also is very intelligent. She's very well spoken. She's very comfortable in front of the camera. You can really tell. I like her videos too. They're really well put together. So I think she's just doing a really great job, and I've really been enjoying her content. I want to give a shout out to Jessie Huntenberg. I purchased a reading from her for the first time this year, and I've always really been a fan of Jessie's work. I think she really knows her shit when it comes to tarot, and she's very approachable. She has a really great energy on camera. So I enjoy watching her do what she does, but it really hit the nail home when I had a bit of drama happen over the summer. I was really feeling put out by it, so she had been doing a promotion on her Facebook page, and I just dove in. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a reading from Jessie, and I asked her about it, and she gave me a beautifully intuitive reading that that did not feel faked or forced or fudged or anything. I think it made me, I have to give bones to somebody who has a very simple, no-nonsense approach to tarot that is accurate but also empowering, and that is something that I think Jessie does extremely well. So if any of you are ever looking for a reader, I can recommend her just based on firsthand experience, and I know she knows her stuff. So Jessie Huntenberg, my love to you. Oh, and before I move on, I want to thank Molly Roberts for the brilliant shout out that she gave me on her channel. I'll say this much, nothing has ever made me feel so simultaneously humbled but also really sparkly at the same time. And that paradox is why I love you, Molly. Mwah. Thank you so much. And you brought so many people here, and I'm feeling happy about that too. So thank you, and you're always a favorite. Whew. I got candles lit. It's kind of getting hot in here. So next topic, tarot. I love tarot. I've always loved tarot, but I especially loved tarot in 2017. I had like sort of a rebirth of my love affair with tarot. I got to see a beautiful first-hand copy of one of the original prints of the Thoth Tarot, and I couldn't I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I dove into online research and decided that that was gonna be like my next goal was to get me a copy of the Thoth Tarot, and that is exactly what I did most recently. So that has definitely got to get a shout out in my favorites list, because this deck, which I am just fascinated by, I have no idea how to fully unravel the brilliance of this deck. There are some things that frustrate me about it too, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why I dig it so much. It's like the code I can't crack or something, but the artwork is just stunning, and I've sort of fallen in love with Lady Frida Harris. It was kind of her idea, and she definitely forced Aleister Crowley through very heavy manipulation to force him to do this, and I don't know, I was so impressed by that, and the fact that it was done out of a labor of love, and I don't know that she got paid for it, actually, and I don't think she wanted to be paid for it. She wanted to do this deck, so that is so impressive to me, and I get fantastic readings with this deck. It really speaks to me, and in short, I'm not really sure if this deck was intended for the readings that I use it for, so we're just having a ball right now, and it's getting kind of crazy up in this piece. Similarly, one of the new decks that I have gotten this year that I have absolutely gone over the moon about is the Tabula Mundi Tarot. I don't own the Rosetta Tarot, but I've always been aware of it, and the creator of that, M.M. Moline, created this fantastic, these are the backs, this fantastic deck that just blows my mind. It's got a modern flair to it. The magus is like a fucking DJ, and there's all this like beautiful sacred geometry going on in the background. It is a stunning work of art that is in sort of the Thoth tradition of tarot, and I am just absolutely gobbling this up. I crave this deck like chocolate, you guys. It's kind of out of control. So that's just what's going on in my world in the Thoth tradition. But then also, I've got a couple of other faves that I picked up earlier in the year that I have really been having a grand old time with. Which one's this one? Aha! So this is the Aquarian Tarot. I am a huge fan of Art Deco, and the style of these cards is so retro. It makes me so happy. I cannot tell you. And it really sort of deviates from the types of cards that I'm normally attracted to, which happen to be like extremely bright, you know, primary colors with very little white surface, and this deck really breaks the mold in terms of some of the stuff that I've usually been interested in. And because it's Rider-Waite, I feel like I can access this card very easily, or access this deck rather very easily. So yeah, that's been a favorite this year. And then, this is actually not a tarot deck, but we're going to put it in this section. I fell in love with a new Oracle deck this year, you guys. It's called the 40 Servants. I am over the moon about not only the artwork, but the messages that I get from these cards. They're really, really simple. The imagery, it doesn't try to say all that much, but it says so much anyway. There's been some instances where I've used this deck in spell work and it's been incredibly sympathetic. Like, wow, in your face sympathetic. Sometimes it kind of catches me off guard, and not in a good way, but I'm really impressed with it, and I've been having a very good time reading with it and using it in my spell work. And if that's something that you like to do, the 40 Servants, it fucking delivers. But lastly, and oh my gosh, the most importantly, is my very new all-time favorite deck, the Fountain Tarot. So I've owned this deck for, I don't know, 5 months or something, and it rocked my world. Actually, no, maybe I purchased it earlier in the year, but I saw it on Jesse Huntenberg's Instagram, and I immediately fell in love with the artwork. I know a lot of people have a hard time with this deck because they say it looks a little spacey, but that is so what I like about it. Ugh. Here's a weird fact about me that you guys may not know, but I am kind of like, how do I put this? Let's just say that my Pinterest feed is mostly architecture porn. I don't know how better to explain that, but I get good feelings from being in certain atmospheres, and there are certain types of modern architecture that are geometric in design and very crisp lines, and it's very minimalist. Like, oh, look at the Ace of Swords in this deck. It is just, it's beautiful, it's geometric, it's colorful, it's bright. I connect to this deck so easily, and it was just like making a new best friend. So this has got to be my very favorite tarot deck of 2017 and all time so far. I've yet to see any other deck that has really moved me the way that this one does. I love it. This is a usurper. This is overthrown the Prismavisions Tarot as the deck that I use to do my daily draws. I didn't think anything was going to replace that deck. Bam. In walks the Fountain Tarot, and it's also an ambitious deck, and it's got a 79th card called the Fountain. I don't know, I don't want this video to get too long, but like, you gotta hear this, it's beautiful. The guy who wrote this book, what's his face? Jason Gruhl, I think he's brilliant. I cannot wait to read more of what he has to write. But anyway, this is what it says about the Fountain. When the fountain appears in your reading, relinquish all illusion of control and remain quiet. It invites you to observe, master less, and to just be, effortless and indistinguishable from life. You are the voice and the breath of universes. Goddamn! I mean, he just writes so beautifully. The companion book that comes with the deck is fantastic too, but oddly enough, I don't feel like I need it very much, which is one of the reasons why I've fallen in love with this deck. So, Fountain Tarot, you're my forever. Very quickly for my crystals of 2017, which could easily be the longest section in this video, but I've rounded it down to 2. For everybody's sanity, including my own. The first is not actually a crystal, it's a rock, and it is my very first hagstone, which I picked up on Brighton Beach. Even though I wasn't supposed to, I took it anyway, and I have a hagstone. That's actually one of the things that I'd always meant to cross off on my list of things to get for my witch kit, and bam, there it is! And it's got a perfect hole right through the center, and I keep it on top of my altar under my Earth Mother, and I could just ramble on forever about the things that I love about this, but I'm going to leave it alone. My other favorite crystal, which I got while I was in Boscastle, is my piece of unicorn quartz, as they call it. It's actually an aura piece of amethyst that I thought was very pretty, and it's all sorts of purple, and purple's my jam. Okay, so next up, I want to talk about some music. Bands and artists that I've really dug throughout the year. The first one I want to talk about is Becca Stevens. A lot of her lyrics are sort of, I would say, fantasy derived, or at least they were in her most recent record, which is called Regina. My favorite song on the record is called Harbour Hawk. I'll put a link in the description to that song. I'm the only comment on the video because I wrote out all of the lyrics. I researched all of these nautical terms that she talks about in the song, and sort of rounded out the lyrics as I heard them. And then it was coming at a time when I was really getting back into painting, and paint imagery is also in that song, so there was a synchronicity that happened there, and it really drew me to this artist. I think that she's really brilliant. She leans in like the sort of genre of folk, and I think she worked with David Crosby a little bit, but I really get spiritual feels, you know, witchy feels out of her music, so I think you guys might like her. My next two favorite musicians are actually from Australia. The first is Tash Sultana. I love, love, love this girl. She is incredibly talented. She's got a great voice. She can fucking shred a 12-string guitar like I have never seen anyone shred it before, and God, if you watch some of her musical performances, they are, dare I say, erotic. Like, she makes love to her guitar. I'm really a fan of her. She also writes really great lyrics. The other that I want to talk about is this awesome band called I Know Leopard. They are dreamy and poppy and really feel-good music, and that has really sort of gotten me through my summer, and I incorporated a lot of their songs into our wedding too, so I am so in love with I Know Leopard. I want this band to be famous, or more famous than they are, so they can come to the US and I can see them live. They also have an incredible cover on YouTube somewhere of TLC's Waterfalls. I will also link that in the description. Jesus Crimbo, I totally forgot about the book section. I do this every time. I always forget to say something, and then I have to come back, and then the camera angle's all different, and this video is gonna be so long. But I can't not talk about books. So a lot of the books that I want to talk about are actually tarot related. I do want to give a shout out as well, first on my list, to the book by Steve Patterson called Cecil Williamson's Book of Witchcraft, a grimoire of the Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. And that book, which I picked up in the museum, is a fantastic read and the most comprehensive biological account of Cecil Williamson's life ever. And I think this dude deserves a lot more credit than he has gotten for being a true, integral cornerstone of the creation of neo-paganism. I plan on talking about him in a future video where I gush and fangirl about him, but for now I would like to leave you all with the book. I will leave a link to that as well in the description, to the Museum of Witchcraft's website where you can purchase the book. I will say that maybe my only criticism of the book is that it just contains quite a bit of typos and could definitely do with a copy edit, but it's no less fascinating to me to read about this man's life, so check that one out. I also want to talk about two tarot books that I think have really helped me learn a little bit more than I did about the subject. The first is Llewellyn's Complete Book of Tarot. I haven't really finished it yet. There's still quite a bit of material in the back after the larger section that discusses each of the cards, but it has been a really great resource. In particular, touches, I think, very well on the history of tarot, which is where I was getting caught up. I really wanted to know where these different traditions of tarot came from, and this book explains it very well. And then I like this Ultimate Guide to Tarot. This is everybody's favorite tarot book as far as I'm concerned. People talk about it a lot on like the forums and Facebook groups, but it's really good. It's a full color print book, and it goes into the symbolism and the imagery of the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith pictures. And that's something that I appreciate a lot, because a lot of those symbols feel sort of disconnected from a modern world to me, and it's nice to know what they're supposed to represent, and I feel like this book does that really well. Finally, to wrap up my favorites, I want to talk about two more witches who I finally made purchases from in the year 2017, in addition to Jessie Huntenberg. The first is I got to purchase a piece of art from Owlvine Green Society 6 store. It's a beautiful tote bag. I'll probably put a picture up here because I forgot to bring it with me. But it's a gorgeous tote bag. The colors just pop, and I always get compliments on it when I carry it around. So thank you, Owlvine. Your art is gorgeous, and I absolutely love having it and wearing it around. The second that I want to give a shout out to is Nadia of Lady Jane's Bewitchery. I finally had some extraneous funds this year that I could use on some, you know, extra bits that I don't normally splurge on, and Nadia's incense came highly recommended. And as it should be, because it makes my mailbox smell so fucking good. It's so great. And I really love a lot of her scents. My personal favorites so far are Summer Magic and Witch's Apple, and I'm really digging the Winter Magic as well. It smells like pine and peppermint, and the house feels very homey when I burn some of that. And also the Hearth and Home I really enjoy as well. Some of those just make my house smell so good. And again, I get so many compliments on it. When people come over, they tell me how great my house smells, and I'm just like, Lady Jane's Bewitchery. So that is it. That is my favorites of 2017. I know it was a lot, but we got through it together. We got through 2017 together. We got through the eclipse season together. We got through this crazy old world together, you guys, and we did it with magic and with style. I wanted to provide something at the end of this video, a gift from me to you to close out 2017 proper. This is likely the last time I'll see you before the new year, so I wanted to give this to you guys. It's something I've always wanted to do on my channel, but I just never got around to doing it, so be warned, this is highly experimental, and it requires multiple me's. So I am proud to present to you my version of one of my very favorite holiday songs, which I don't actually think is about the holidays at all. It's a winter song, and it goes like this. Over the ground lies a mantle of white, a heaven of diamonds shines down through the night. Two hearts are thrilling in spite of the chill in the weather. Love knows no season, love knows no clime, romance can blossom at any old time. Here in the open, we're walking and hoping together. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is the new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town. Later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a circus clown. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman until the other kitties knock him down. When it snows, ain't it thrilling? Though your nose gets a chillin', we'll frolic and play the Eskimo way, walking in a winter wonderland. outside, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland, walking in a winter wonderland, walking in a winter wonderland. Happy holidays, everybody. Sweet dreams.